Hey guys, welcome to this Autel presentation of the MS906TS. This is the Auto Body Repair Edition. My name is Curtis Harden and I'll be your host for this presentation. And I got about 50 slides to get through, so let me just jump straight into the presentation. And as your consultant, I have three main objectives: to help identify some of the problems you're currently facing and address some of the problems you will experience in the future. Second, to help you make a rational decision when deciding when to purchase this tool. And third, ensure accessibility and competent service in times that you need it most. And by the end of this presentation, you will know how to solve things like undetecting coding problems. You'll see how to write a VIN number on an ECU module. You will also see which tool has the full functional TPS capability and how it works. And you will also see the safest way how to purchase the tool. So who is this presentation for? That's a great question. Well, first, used car dealerships. If you're anybody who buys cars, used cars, fixes them up and sells them, many times you're probably missing keys, or you're replacing control modules, sensors that need to have some type of calibration. This is a tool that will solve your problem. So if you're in that industry, this is ideal for you. Automotive repair facilities, if you are a technician or a mechanic that wants to make the transition into being a technician, this is a great tool to have because it solves a lot of the electrical problems that you're going to get in these newer cars. But mainly, if you're in the auto body repair industry, the demonstrations that I'm going to share with you today are going to be events that you're probably going to see in the future a lot. Okay? So if you're in these three categories, you're going to benefit from this tool and this presentation. So while consulting several auto body repair facilities, I was able to see profits leaking through their business operations, such as pre and post scans for insurance purposes, outsourcing airbag light removal services, wheel alignment procedures that may need calibration, erasing TPMS lights, calibrating sensors after components have been replaced or repaired, existing diagnostic tools that may need updating, or maybe your software isn't up to date. And lastly, to calibrate the ADAS systems. You can probably relate to some of these problems. Let's address these issues by allowing me to show you how to protect your customer with a pre and post scan. As you can see, these are just some of the collision pre and post scan position statements. There are several advantages in doing the initial scan. First, it will allow you to gather the unseen information that's stored in the car's computer. And then second, having all the correct information up front can prevent additional supplements or outsourcing that could really have an effect on your total bill. Remember, a collision shop is not only responsible for restoring the appearance of the client's vehicle after a collision, but the repairer is also responsible for restoring the vehicle's functionality. Automakers recognize this, and so do insurance companies. Now let's just imagine that a VW arrived in our shop and it had multiple faults on the ECU, and let's just imagine that the airbags were deployed. Okay, so one of the first things I would suggest if there was a deployment is to go to the OEM site and actually research the repair and replacement information. You need to understand what components are involved, what components need further inspection or replacement. You also need to see which components need to be reset and or calibrated. A prime example would be on the occupant classification system. Some manufacturers require it to be calibrated after any accident, and this is something you can do with our tool. Another good practice I would suggest considering is to supply the source of information with your estimate and diagnostic report. This way, if somebody comes back to you and says, hey, why did you, replace this airbag control module? Then you can say, well, according to the OEM, this was the standard procedure, if XYZ was damaged, But with that, I hope you can start to see why getting all the correct information up front is vital in order to create a proper estimate beforehand. If you're not doing this, you're kind of going to be guaranteeing yourself a supplement when you thought the initial vehicle was complete. And as you know, the goal is to keep the work operations in-house. Okay, so what I'm doing right now on the PDF report, I'm just giving it a description because I'm going to save it. And I usually like to put, the work order number just so I can cross-reference, what vehicle it is. And it's two ways to send it. You can do it through email, or you can do it by installing the MaxiSys print software onto a PC. You can just click the print button and then it'll spit right out of there. And I'm going to show you how simple that is. See there, you just put in the email. You can also Bluetooth the report as well. So there's several options. Okay, so here's the report, and you can see here on the top you can have your logo. Okay, our system allows you to put in your logo. It has your letterhead, your business details, the vehicle information, and the first part of the scan will just give you the result. If there was a fault, how many, and if it passed. Then the bottom is a breakdown of what each fault code is. So this way you can analyze, okay, what's going on with the vehicle, and this is a proper pre-scan. And what I always tell people, these basic scan tools sometimes don't even get into all these modules. So this is something that you'll have confidence with the Autel machine. Now remember, not all codes will trigger a light on the dashboard. In fact, many instances, after replacing certain sensors, there may need to be additional calibration depending on which sensor that has been damaged or replaced. Here's a prime example of what I was just explaining. This client had a Toyota. Client reported a month after collecting the vehicle, she attempted to change lanes, and in her blind spot monitor, it indicated that it was okay to proceed, which in reality there was another vehicle present and luckily avoided an accident. And this was just a quarter panel replacement that was done on the vehicle. As a result, the auto body repair shop had to outsource the repair since their diagnostic tool does not have the coding capabilities to calibrate that sensor. All right. Preventative measures would have been having a stage 2 premium tool that would be able to properly calibrate the blind spot sensor to its correct OEM specifications. Okay. And in some instances, even when you scan the vehicle after you replace it, you'll scan it, there's no codes, doesn't mean that your car is good to go. Okay, I'm going to show you an example of this. You're going to still need to calibrate pretty much a lot of these sensors. Here's another client of mine, was working on a Honda CR-V. He had multiple faults on his dash, the TPMS, the ESP, and the EPS light. All these were on, and he was at the point where he wanted to send it to the dealer. So luckily he gave me a call, and he told me the work he did was just an airbag replacement, and he removed the battery. So I'm going to show you how I was able to get rid of those lights. So this is a screenshot of the client's vehicle, and as you can see, the ESP light is on, the TPMS light is on, and the anti-lock brake system light is on. Okay, this is when I log into his tablet to investigate each of the modules, and I'm going to show you step by step on how I got all these lights cleared. The first task is to identify the error code on the EPS module, which states that there is a problem on the VSA system. For those of you who don't know, this stands for Vehicle Stability Assist, and the Vehicle Stability Assist system with traction control helps sense and correct oversteering and understeering to improve cornering capabilities. Now look closely where it says conditions for canceling DTCs. Okay, step 1, ignition is supposed to be off. Now usually when clearing DTCs, you need the ignition on, but in this situation, the ignition needs to be off. And what I like about the Autel is it prompts you when to turn off the ignition and when to turn it on. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to skip to where we are actually doing this procedure and maybe play a little bit of the audio so you can see. I did already. Well, watch this. Press escape, and then it's going to go back to the result, and then let's see what it says. It's clear. It said it's clear. Yeah, everything's clear. Okay, so we successfully erased the EPS light. Now is step 2, erasing the ABS light and the ESP light at the on the dashboard. Okay, so I'm just going to let this play as well. Okay, so this successfully erased the ABS light and the ESP light, and now the last procedure is the TPMS. So this was actually something that didn't require a third-party tool, because on this particular vehicle there was a button that we just pressed to erase that light. So there you have it. These are a lot of common scenarios that you could possibly get in your shop, and without having the ability to do coding and calibration, you could be wasting a lot of money. So before we continue, I also want to use this time to actually filter out which system is right for you. Okay, Autel has a lot of systems, and some of you probably bought a lot of what I call stage 1 tools, thinking that it could do stage 2 and stage 3 stuff, but this will hopefully save you guys a lot of money. Okay, I devised this thing called the spectrum of diagnostics, coding, and programming charts. There are 3 stages in diagnostic equipment and capabilities, and they are as follows: stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Let me explain each level so you can later decipher which model is congruent to your needs. First, we have stage 1. These tools are primarily focused on reading and erasing codes. Okay, you can find them as cheap as $20, probably around up to $1,000, $1,200. Okay, now a good rule of thumb to consider is the more money you pay for a stage 1 tool, the more problems and special functions you'll have access to. But keep in mind that their strengths are just good for reading and erasing codes. And in my opinion, stage 1 tools are good for people who work on older vehicles from 1996 to 2010, mainly because the ECUs on them are not as extensive compared to the newer vehicles. The next stage is stage 2. Stage 2 is what I call for the professional level of diagnostics, meaning that there are more in-depth vehicle coverage. There's more vehicles that the stage 2 can do, and there's a lot more problem-solving special functions. At minimum, I would suggest investing in a tool at this level, predicated to the fact that it will be able to handle vehicles now and in the future with all of its special functions and coding capabilities. Okay, you guys need to look in the 4th dimension, because technology is ramping really, really fast. So having a tool that can accommodate those problems is going to save you money in the long term. Okay, and the last stage is stage 3. This is what I call, it's for the advanced technician, due to the fact that it has a layer of programming. Remember, coding and programming are 2 different things, and just to make things simple, this is how I would explain it. Coding has to deal with, let's say, configuration. Okay, let's say if you put on a seatbelt sensor, you need to configure it, or a steering angle sensor, you need to configure it so it can turn properly, or even writing a VIN number on an ECU module. Configuration, calibration, that's a coding procedure. Programming has to deal with, let's say, injecting the manufacturer's software into a specific ECU module. Okay, so let's say, for example, you scan a car and you determine that the airbag module is faulty. Okay, so when you purchase a new module, sometimes they come blank. There's no software on them. So by using the J2534 that comes with the stage 3 tool, you can connect it to the OEM site and then use their software to inject their calibration file into that particular module. Okay, programming is a whole nother beast, and it's a skill that you should learn. But what I tell people is this: in the last 6 months, if you haven't done any programming events, let's say you just done 2, it's okay to outsource that. Okay, you're not going to be it's not going to be a train smash if you outsource it, doing 2 programming events every 6 months. But if this is a reoccurring problem that you're getting, let's say, once every month, then that might be a good idea to maybe invest in a stage 3 tool. Okay, so for just for clarification, The DS808 and the MS906 are stage 1 tools. Okay? This means they can tap on some special functions, but their main thing is just to read and erase codes. Alright? The next level is the MS906BT and the MS906TS. These are stage 2 tools. They have in-depth coverage, okay, and they have loads of problem-solving special functions in terms of coding. And the last stage is stage 3, which is the MaxiSys Pro or the MaxiSys Elite. Okay, you guys got it now? Good. Okay, now I want to reveal some of the new technology that you're gonna start to see on pretty much any vehicle 2012 on upward. And if you don't have the right equipment to tackle this, it's really gonna put a hindrance on your workflow. Okay, so let's jump into this next slide and let me show you what this technology is. Let me take this moment to introduce you to a new standard in safety technology. I want to bring focus on the alignment procedures. In the past, when we do a total 4-wheel vehicle alignment, and the last procedure would be to adjust the front toe on the vehicle, then we would get a printout and then that was pretty much it. Nowadays, these vehicles require an additional step in the alignment process. The reason for this is manufacturers are incorporating complex electrical components that require special attention. For example, in modern day vehicles, they're being equipped with a device called a steering angle sensor. Its function is to detect where the steering wheel is positioned and that it understands the driver's inputs. The sensor is delivering an input to the vehicle's computer system so it can operate whatever systems require for that input. It may be power steering or electronic stability control. Whatever the reason, these vehicles are going to require a reset or calibration after the alignment. Let me show you some interesting facts that will back up this statement. As you can see in this slide, many of today's vehicles are going to require the steering angle to be reset after the vehicle has been aligned, and on newer vehicles that are equipped with the systems like electronic stability control may also require a steering angle reset after an alignment. And lastly, if you look at the fourth column, you will see the ADAS that also need calibration. This technology is the future, and in fact, you could have a whole department just calibrating the ADAS systems. Let me give you a visualization on where all these sensors are so you can clearly understand what you're going to be coming up against. Let's take a look at this Ford, for example, and examine the adaptive cruise control with stop-and-go technology. Now, Ford has implemented a sensor that functions like a normal cruise control with one exception. This technology will allow the driver to autonomously follow the vehicle in front of him or her without the use of the accelerator or brake pedal. In addition, it will also put the driver in a comfortable preset distance from the vehicle directly in front of the driver. Now, what would happen if the vehicle was hit in the front bumper and received severe damage? Would you replace the sensor? It's going to need calibration, otherwise it won't operate properly. And to make things even more complicated, there are more of these safety sensors all around the vehicle. Look, I mean, there's a driver alert system, the lane keep assist system, rear camera, and the blind spot indicator system. It's pretty complex technology. But what does ADAS mean and why should you pay attention to it? Well, I'm going to answer that right now. ADAS stands for Advanced Driver Assisted Systems. It is a rapidly growing new technology that includes systems to help the driver in the driving process. When designed with the safe human-machine interface, they should increase car safety and more generally road safety. You as an auto body repair shop will start to see this technology pretty soon. And I want to introduce you to the device that will help solve these problems. Introducing The Autel MS906TS with TPMS programming capability. This device is a stage 2 diagnostic tool that allows you to do in-depth diagnostics for over 80 manufacturers. Plus it has loads of special functions and problem-solving coding solutions. With this tool, you'll be able to do things like erase crash data on some airbag control modules. You'll be able to do active tests to validate that the electrical components are operational with just a click of a button. You can calibrate a variety of the ADAS sensors such as cruise control, blind spot modules, 360 camera calibrations. You can code injectors with this device. You can calibrate steering angle sensors, fuel trim resets, key coding, idle and throttle body relearning. What else? Crankshaft positioning variation relearning. You can view misfire data, graphical data. You can force write a VIN number on used ECU modules. If you replace a wiring harness, you can use the 906 to calibrate it back to the vehicle. I mean, these are things I can think up from the top of my head, but you can see that there's an abundance of problem-solving coding functions on this tool at your disposal. Okay. Besides that, the tool is really easy to use. They made the tool for the average Joe. If you can read and you have a finger, I tell people you can code. Okay, so let me just fast forward it to the TPMS section. Okay, and as you can see here, there's an embedded RF antenna that will allow you to test each of the tire pressure sensors individually. Okay, this is only on the TS. The BT, the Elite, the Pro, they don't have this in it. All right. When you check a TPMS sensor, you just click the TPMS app and it will give you the trouble code and details that will pinpoint the problematic sensor. The tool will then instruct the technician to replace or relearn or perform an in-depth testing on that sensor. All right. And just for clarification, for whatever reason, people think that you have to use the Autel sensors to program the TPMS. That's not the case. You can use the original OEM sensors and the Autel can program that back into the vehicle. Okay, so yeah, the coverage is about, I would say, 98% of the market. So you'll be good to go by purchasing the OEM TPMS sensors. Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes, because believe it or not, we just scratched the surface. Okay, I know you guys want to see more of the coding capabilities, so let's see what coding capabilities this tool can actually solve. This is an example of the ADAS calibration procedure that I was talking about. Let's say we have a Ford Expedition that had damage to the front bumper and we replaced the cruise control module. This is the function route in which how you would calibrate it. First, we're going to select electrical, then cruise control module calibration. Then just follow the prompts. If you read carefully when it says when servicing an alignment procedure is required or when the adaptive cruise control module has been replaced, perform this function. This is going to require a little bit of driving to complete this task, but you get the point. You can see that the tool can do it. Okay, next I want to show you how to force write a VIN number on a Toyota PCM module. As you can see, we have two fault codes on the engine control module. And let's just see what other options that are available for us. Okay, we have trouble codes, live data, active tests, special functions. Trouble codes is where you go look and find the error code. Live data gives you analytics on the module. Active test will test any of the electrical components, and special functions is where we need to go because it's a coding procedure. Okay, we're going to click OK. Oops, let me just fast forward this here. Okay, all right, so first we're going to click VIN. All right, then we're going to follow the prompts. As you can see, welcome to blah, 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 press OK. So initially you want to read the VIN number, and then when we replace it, then we're going to select write the VIN number. All right, so let's just say that we replaced it. All right, this function will erase the DTC. We're going to select OK. And then we're going to input the VIN number. Now you can see here at the screen below, it already has the VIN number. It's because we initially read the VIN already from the original PCM, and then it's saved to the Autel. Then we're going to click Next, and this is a confirmation screen. And even though we erased it, as you can see here, I'm just going to go double check and see if it's off. All right, so I'm going to go Diagnosis, Auto Scan, and there you go. You can see there's no more fault code on the engine control module. Pretty cool, huh? On to the next. Many of you guys who buy cars at an auction will really like this feature that I'm about to show you. You see this here? Do you actually know what this is? More importantly, do you know how difficult it is to get this 5-digit code? Let me explain the process. It's really a hassle. Normally when you lose your car keys, you need to contact the dealer to acquire what they call the Immobilizer Pin Code. You have to show them proof that it's your vehicle, you know, the license plate, registration, your blood, you know, all this information. And, you know, most of the time you actually need a locksmith license to even do this. But on certain manufacturers with the 906TS, you can actually extract the PIN code directly from the tablet. In this way, all you need to do is buy the keys and then you're good to go. Okay, this is going to be something that you guys are going to see, especially if you're in the auto body repair industry. This particular video is of a client of mine who called me after he replaced an airbag control module. He actually called the dealer as well, and the dealer was telling him that it needed to be programmed. And that's when he called me just to validate that, and I told him the Autel could do it. So I went over to his facility, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to play the audio, so that way you guys can actually see the method in which how I solved the problem.
So we have a 2017 X-Trail. We have an airbag problem. The passenger airbag went out, and apparently the airbag ECU module has been replaced. Okay, so you can see here we can erase the codes. So this is probably going to be a coding procedure. So let's go back into coding, and then press OK. Go to airbag. And go to replace ECU since we replaced it. Okay, so it says if you have not replaced the ECU, please select the for replacement here and then read the configuration. And it says if you already replaced an ECU, press click after you submit and write the save coding data on the new vehicle. Alright, so let me get into that. So we're going to click after. Okay, so it says if the old ECU is available, please reinstall it before replacing the system function. Alright, let me see if he has the old one. It's going to be easier. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go manual coding. Recording it so it's so much. The command was successful. Oh, the light is off. Is it on? It's off. The light is off. Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, I'll put it on your end for this.
Okay, so as you can see, we successfully did it, but I'm sure you guys are wondering, how did I know, and when I went to the coding aspect, where did I get that information to put in the correct digits? All right, so for the data part number, you can read the version information from the old Airbag ECU, or you can find the part number on the ECU that's being replaced. Usually the part number for the old ECU and new ECU should be the same. Or you can then, as I did, click edit menu and there are reference options for you. Okay, so that's how I was able to do that particular part. Alright, so just as a rule of thumb, when replacing modules, and if you need to code it and stuff or write a VIN number, it's typically good to actually leave the old module in there. Then go through the Autel and into the special functions, read the information first, save it, and then depending on what the procedure is, the Autel will tell you when to actually get the new module to put in. Okay, so yeah, this is something that you guys are going to see, and I really hope that you understood, more or less the process in which I go through for my clients. Okay. So in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how I helped a client write a VIN number on an ABS module.
Programmable module installation. I think it's programmable parameter. Yeah, it's a programmable module installation. That's what she has. Okay. Okay, you're done. Alright. ABS? Yep. You want me to click it or you want to click it? You can click it. Program out the VIN verification process of the VIN module. Yeah, but you have it. Do I need to plug the old module to start there? Yeah, because and then when you put the old module, plug the other module in? Yeah, you're gonna plug in the old one because then we're gonna take that VIN number. You don't put the old one in. Okay. Okay, no problem. I think that's the problem. Just copy the one from the other. Yeah. Copy the one you here with the old.
Now, while he's coming back, you guys can go ahead and take my number down on the top. We can call me up, and I can discuss your needs. Just keep in mind that this is a long procedure, so just bear with the client. Thanks.
Press OK. Okay, we gotta put our VIN number back in, right? Yeah. 3FD is here. Okay. Is that the old one? That's the new VIN. That's the VIN number of the car. Okay. That's the VIN we want, right? Yeah. What the old module has that VIN number of the car, so that's fine. Correct. But I mean, when they ask for the VIN number of the car, we'll put the VIN number of the car and go in. Yeah, it needs to be the old one. Correct. So go ahead and do the procedure again. Just follow the instructions. Okay. Go off. Okay, now I gotta put the wire. Okay.
And another thing that I want to point out, you can see on the top right here, this is called data lodging. Now, I always, as a good practice, select this icon when doing a procedure, because if the procedure fails, I can then upload it to my engineer and they can analyze what the problem could be and then give us an update to fix it. And you guys can do this too if you have the tool, but Autel doesn't typically reply back to you. So what I did was I developed an app where I can fill this in, and then the next day me and my client will get an update from from Autel. Okay, so that's the data lodging icon.
Okay, so press OK. Press OK. Press OK. Okay. It's okay. Turn it off. It's okay. Turn it on. Push OK. Turn it off. Push OK. Okay, this is completed. Check our code, right? Okay. This is off. Okay. Save. And it's back on. Save. Diagnostic. And yeah. Pass. Great module did pass this time. It's pretty fast.
All right, so there you have it, guys. This is the coding capabilities of the 906TS, and what I want to do now is take you to the end of the presentation, which is the buying aspect. I know it's a confusing journey with different sellers and different prices and stuff, so let me continue to the next slide, and this way you can understand clearly what problem I'm trying to solve. So how can you make an educated purchasing decision? By identifying your value system. And to help you identify your value system, I want you to take a moment to write down what's more important to you. Getting the tool or actually benefiting from the tool? There's a difference. Getting the tool or actually benefiting from the tool. Now this is what I call the hierarchy of sellers. The first sellers are what I call the unethical, scumbags basically. A person or company who is not in accord with the standards of a profession. You can find these on Alibaba or other online sites or even some local dealers. And these type of people are just out there to screw you over basically. You know, they'll probably attract you with their very low price, and you know, maybe you'll get the tool and the tool was stolen and it won't register or something of that nature. It's sad, but they're out there. Okay. The next is the neutral platforms, and this is a person or company who primarily is not supporting or helping either side in a conflict. So most of the market is like this, like eBay, Amazon. They're just platforms that are built to give you the tool. Even, you know, local dealers, a lot of them are just there to give you the tool. If you ask them a specific question like, oh, can the MaxiSys do XYZ? They're really not going to know because that's not their specialty. You know, they probably have a huge variety of other products and they can't give you that detail because they just don't know. And the last level is the specialist. And this is a person or company who concentrates primarily on a particular subject or activity. A person of highly skilled and specific in a restricted field. Okay? Now, I know some of you are thinking to yourself, you know, I work from home, I'm never going to need this level of support. Or you're probably saying, oh, I'm a seasoned tech with 30 years experience. You know, I'm really not going to call for assistance. So let me just share with you some of the problems that I've witnessed, because I know what it's like to own the tool after, you know, a long duration. These are the types of problems that you will find owning this tool. First is the technically related, meaning if you want to know the function route on how to do a certain procedure, whether it's key coding, you know, writing a VIN, how to get to it, you know, relearning. This is something that, you know, you're going to need. Now, depending on your level of experience, yeah, you probably aren't going to need a lot of assistance in this. But with the transition of, you know, the complexity of these newer cars, it's going to be important to have a resource where you can ask to get that information. Okay, we always have to keep on learning and adapting to the new technology. Okay, so that's the first level. The second level is software related. Now, software related is, let's say your tablet's running slow or your device is not able to complete a calibration, or you notice your device is not working well after you updated it to the latest version. This is where I find a lot of consumers make costly decisions by getting incorrect information online. For example, one gentleman called me and said that his tablet was running slow, so he looked on, I think it was Autel's forums, and somebody recommended he reformat his tablet. So he reformatted it, and he didn't realize that the apps are gone. And the only way to get them back is to have a valid subscription to get all the vehicle manufacturers back, and he was out of a subscription. So he was sitting there with a tablet that he couldn't use anymore, you know. So that's why I don't like doing a lot of research online, because sometimes I say it's like sheep following sheep. You know, you don't really know the validity of that person giving that advice, you know. So just something to be aware of. So that's a software related issue. And then lastly is hardware related, meaning when your battery becomes noticeably faulty, typically on year 3, or your Wi-Fi just stopped working. I get a lot of those repairs for my clients. Or your LCD screen is not responsive anymore. You're clicking it, it doesn't work. Or your VCI doesn't work, the thing that you plug into the car. Sometimes that becomes faulty and you need, you know, certain software, or in some cases getting it replaced. These are all factors you need to think about when you are dealing with the new generation of tools. A lot of people are still, maybe they have an old tool, and actually the old tools are actually more stable. Like when I was selling the DS708, I hardly had any report, problems. Like typically it would just be the cable that was bad, but other than that, that tool was stable. But these are more complex, and just as you're seeing with these new vehicles having more problems with it because of all the complexity in them, the same thing is going to happen with tools. With these tools, they're becoming more complex, and they need special attention. So this is something that you need to think about when you're buying the tool. Does the seller have this? Now, this is something that I do provide. Like I basically took up all the problems that my client had, and I have systems in place that resolves those issues. So yes, my clients will have the same problem, but they have a system or a point of contact which can solve those problems quite quickly. This document you see here was sent to me by one of my clients. It's a list of all the US sellers. He retrieved it from Autel US. But if you look closely at the fine print, it says something that's quite confusing and kind of disturbing at the same time. Let me share with you what it says. We do not sell any tools on eBay. We do not sell any tools from our MaxiSys product line on Amazon. All legitimate Autel tools on Amazon are sold directly from Amazon with Prime shipping. Purchasing Autel tools from these websites that do not meet this criteria will not be eligible for warranty, and tech support will be limited. Okay, so how could I put this? Let me break it down for you guys. Autel is based in China. That's where the tool originates from. That's where I got my distribution certificate. That's where every tool in the world comes from. Now there is online sellers, and there's offline sellers, like regional people. The online sellers, typically I would say 90% of them is probably from China. All right, they have websites that maybe have Autel's name on it, and many people think it's the official website. It's not. They're legitimate tools, and the prices are really, really attractive. But what you don't know is when you get that tool, let's say if you got it from Amazon, you're not an expert in finding the origin of the tool. You don't know where that seller is from. And in some cases, you don't have access to even calling them. All right, because they're overseas. Now, Amazon, what they did on a marketing aspect is, I remember when they first came out, they were just selling books and stuff, but they are now into the consumer's mind. The first thing you do when you are doing research, you type in the keyword MaxiSys, and Amazon will come up. So you're basing all your knowledge on what it's on that sales letter, and a lot of people are not able to talk to a human being, so they're buying the wrong tool. Wrong tool meaning maybe they needed the 906 BT and they didn't need the TS model, or maybe they bought a stage 1 tool because it said it could do relearns and stuff, and when you get it, it doesn't have that option. A lot of people waste a lot of money doing that. And the other thing is, Autel US won't honor tools that were purchased from these sites because most of the time they are, as I said, they're from overseas, and Autel US only gives support on the tools that they import. All right, so if you don't want peace of mind, if you have, let's say, in your mind how you're going to resolve those issues, hardware, software, and technical, and maybe you're in a drastic situation, that's the only time I would purchase from an online site. Okay, because I know some people, like I had a friend, he was in the hurricanes in Puerto Rico and stuff like that. His tool was damaged. He wanted to buy through me, but he didn't have the funds at the moment. He needed a tool to fix a problem quickly. That I can understand, but a lot of people who need to look at not just getting the tool, but what's going to happen after the sale. You need to consider everything that I just mentioned to you, and it's important to have those systems in place, because if those systems are in place, that's actually going to reduce your cost. Price and cost are different. Okay, so that's the different pricing explanation. Online, it's just transactional. They have great systems to give you the tool, so you can get it sometimes the next day, same day, but what they lack is the support. Now, there's two types of support. There's general customer support, and there's what I call client support. And I'm just going to share with you in this next slide kind of what that is. Let's define a customer versus a client. A customer is someone who buys goods or services from a store or business. A client has a different distinction. It is defined as someone who receives professional services. So, as you can see here, this is just a sample of what I call my statement of work to my clients. The data lodging follow-up service, which I demonstrated earlier in the video. Special functions request. Let's say if you want to know a specific function, if the tool can do it, I can validate that for you. I have an app that does that. Logistics services. Let's say if you are, buying your tool and in the US and you're going to be migrating somewhere else, I can, help you through that process and also change the version of your tool according to your market. If it needs to be a Europe version, a US version, or whatever version, I can do that. Remote login assistance. So let's say you're working on a car and you see something wrong, or you don't know where a function is. I can log into your tablet through TeamViewer. Accessibility. This is important. Like, you don't want to have to wait 30 minutes to call somebody, to get a hold of somebody. I have a very classic approach. You have a problem, you call me. The way my system's set up, if I miss your call, I'll get an email and I'll always call you back. My callback rate is like almost probably 90%. Direct route procedures. Let's say you know what the problem is, but you need to know the path on how to get that. Like, press this, press this, press this. I can do that for you. Beta app development. This is very, very specialized. So sometimes when you update the tool, you'll notice that the previous version actually worked better, right? So I have a service where I can reform back to the previous version, and that way, you can continue working on whatever vehicles without that hindrance of, that software not being reliable. And, special automotive consulting. So let's say you have a problem. Let's say you wanted to get into key coding. I can share with you what tools that are in software that's out there. Let's say if you want to learn how to, get Immobilizer security codes, I can show you how to do that. So this is client support. All right. And as I said, this is just a sample of what I offer. Now, if you want customer support, just take this list and maybe knock off I don't know, 6 things. 6 or 7 categories. That's customer support. So depending on the platform that you buy from, the majority of them are neutral platforms, and they'll probably offer, general customer support. So I want to make the distinction. Okay, I don't offer customer support. There's client support. So you're going to get an overwhelming, an abundance of resources that will help you solve problems. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to share with you the offer. So you made it this far, and this is what I'm going to give you. First, you get the MS906TS with all the adapters and the wireless VCI, plus the TPMS software included. You will also have the option of choosing either 100 electrical circuit tester or the MV108 digital video scope. You will also receive my 90-day money-back guarantee. So the reason why I give you such a long time to decipher if the tool is right for you is because I know the fear that goes involved in buying a tool that you're unfamiliar with. And 90 days will give you enough time to test it on multiple cars. And as a consultant, I only want to be compensated if I solve this problem. Okay? If you find that the tool isn't solving your problem, then I didn't do my job. So you can take the tool back, and I'll be more than happy to PayPal you the money, and I'll even go to the extent of maybe finding a tool that does solve your problem. All right, so you'll get all this for $2,300, and this includes the PayPal fee and the shipping to your door. Plus, this is a US device, so you'll get a 1-year warranty from Autel US, and you'll have the support from Autel China as well. On top of that, I'll be your dedicated consultant. So the bonus of that is I have 10 years experience doing this. I specialize in the tech support, so I can teach you how to do things like how to code injectors, how to do key coding, how to erase crash data on airbag control modules, how to calibrate sensors after replacement, and more. There's a lot of things you can do. You tell me a problem, I'll find you a solution, whether it's on our tool, whether it's software, whether it's hardware. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to play a little clip of a client testimonial just to demonstrate the value of, having competent, reliable tech support.
Because how do I explain this? It's when I spoke to you, when I saw your video, I go, wow, that makes sense. I said, it's a no-brainer to me, And then when I explained it to my wife, she goes, and I'm talking to her, I said, you know what? I said, I have a good feeling about Curtis, just because he's doing the right thing and he wants to help. And when you're buying this tool, when you're doing stuff over the internet, and you some things you're like, I'm a little afraid because I'm spending $3,600. I said, but you know what? I said to her, I trust him. She goes, if you feel that way, then go for it, but the support is so important. So important. It's I hated calling you every morning. But I know, I'm like, well, this is what he says, what we're doing. So it is what it is. Yeah. But I don't know how anybody could buy this tool without your support.
Yeah.
Well, I really don't, because I just don't.
Yeah, you know what, I'll tell you what the problem is. So back in the day, like the tools that were out there, they really didn't need that much support because they weren't as complex. They were more simplified. Their operating systems weren't as complex. And, like I can tell you, like the old Maxidus DS708, like, in terms of support, like no one really called me. Like they were able to just use it, and like if a wire breaks or something, then that was it. But with coding and software and stuff like that, it's a whole other ballgame. And people think that it's going to be the same, and that's what I'm trying to tell them. Like it's not. It's completely different, and you need the support. So yeah, I'm just lucky that you.
So this was a good client of mine named George, and he's out of New York. So he even told me, if anybody wants to just talk to a live reference, he's more than happy to take your call. And I have hundreds of other clients that are more than happy to do the same thing, because we all know how it's like. there's so many tools out on the market, and you really don't know who to trust and stuff like that. So as I said, I have a very classic approach to my business, and I like the human element. So yeah, with that, that's pretty much it, guys. I really thank you for all your support, and I hope that this presentation gave you clarity on which tool is right for you and what you can do with the tool. So if you want to place your order, go ahead and call the number above. This is what's going to happen after you have been consulted. I'll send you the PayPal pro forma invoice that's going to stipulate everything that you're going to be receiving. And after you authorize the payment, it takes 2 days to process your order. On the third day, you'll get the tracking number via UPS, and it's going to come from either New York or California. And my system will update you every day on its progress. And when you get the tool, give me a call, and I'll spend a good 30 minutes walking you through it, helping you download the software, and setting up your printer driver so you can print the reports, okay? So with that, you guys, thanks so much, and smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.